Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, episode 145. Today on the podcast, Jenn interviews relationship coach Jurgen Schmechel. The question of the day, career versus relationship. Can you have both? I'm gonna say yes.
Welcome to episode number 145 of the Communication Diva podcast, the podcast that helps you to get the job, to love your work, and to advance your career. I am pleased to have you join me today. I have a guest who is speaking to me today from Australia. His name is Jurgen Schmechel, and he is a person who helps mostly men with improving their romantic relationships. And he will be speaking to me today about the topic of career versus relationship. Can you have both? And before we get into that conversation, I just wanted to let you know a couple of quick things. One is that I wanted to thank my newest Patreon patron, and that is Kelvin Nickel. Thank you very much, Kelvin, for coming into the coffee crew. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a Patreon page, patreon.com/communication diva. And this is where you can help say thank you by throwing $1 or $5 or $10, whatever you like a month, our way to help me continue to provide great content for you here at Communication Diva. So thank you, Kelvin, for coming on board. And that's one of the things I wanted to tell you about. The next two things I want to tell you about are these two things, and I'm going to keep it quick because I want to get to our great content. We have a giveaway happening, a contest. Our How to Ace a Job Interview course is opening October 9th. It will be open for registration only from October 9th to October 15th. But we are also offering a chance to win a registration for that course. The contest is open until the 9th, until registration begins, and that is October 9th, 2017. And here is the link for the giveaway. If you go to communicationdiva.com/giveaway, all one word, giveaway, you will come to the page where you can enter the contest. Again, the contest will end at I can't remember what time I said it would end, at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on October 9th. So you've got a little bit of time to enter the contest, and if you win the prize, that's $149 US value, and if you don't need a job interview, you can actually give this to someone else, and I can help you do that if you are declared the winner. So enter the contest. Every time you share this contest, you get a few more entries. I think it's 3 more entries yourself. So the more you share, the more chances you get to win this prize. And the last thing that I've already mentioned is that we are opening this course for registration the 9th to the 15th of October, and you can visit that on our courses page at courses.communicationdiva.com. Lots of information for you. I hope that you check it all out and take advantage of the contest that's running. And now I'd like to turn this over to Jurgen and our conversation that we had a little bit earlier today. Hi everyone, I am here with my guest Jurgen Schmechel. I hope I said that right. I was close.
Pretty close.
My German is not so great. But welcome to the Communication Diva. I'm so glad that we figured out a time, because you're calling in from Australia and I'm here in Vancouver, and we're actually a whole day apart.
That's correct. Thanks for having me, Jen. And just to reiterate, my name is Jurgen Schmechel. So that's how we say it. I'm living in Australia, Sydney, for 13 years now, but originally I'm from Hamburg, Germany. So that's where my accent is from, and my name obviously as well.
Excellent. So I just want to start off today. I know we're going to talk about whether or not you can have a career, if it's career versus relationship, or whether or not you can have both and have both be sustainable and happy. But I'd like to first find out a little bit about you. How did you come to be doing the work that you're doing now?
That's a funny story because it started all in January this year while I was sitting on a meditation retreat for 10 days. And I know while you're sitting in meditation, you should empty your mind. But I think it happens to all of us that actually the mind is wandering off in all sorts of directions. And then you try to pull these thoughts back or let them go. And on day 6 or maybe day 7 on this meditation retreat, a thought popped up in my mind, which was about that I saw so many relationships just in the last couple of years here in Australia falter and break up. And being married for 24 years plus to boys, so I thought in my marriage we had obviously doing something right, be it consciously, be it unconsciously. But if I could transport these ideas, if I can educate people out there to actually follow some simple rules and techniques within a relationship, I could make a step towards a world where couples live together in a loving, intimate, and respectful relationship, which then obviously has a ripple-on effect to their children and society. So that's where I started, and it felt so clear to me that this kind of purpose or passion hasn't left me since. So I'm on a path.
And you're doing this. You're working predominantly with men, or you're working with couples?
I'm working predominantly with men, knowing that men oftentimes internalize issues and are not outspoken. For women, there is so much done, and women are so easier in talking about things, but men internalize things, and that's where I want to help them and be on their side, be part of their team. And I'm not a counselor, so that's why I say I'm not working with couples, because with couples it's oftentimes on the verge of being counseling, and I'm not a counselor.
Exactly. So you've launched into this, and it's fairly recently that you've started doing this.
That's correct. Before that, I was consulting to businesses for 30 plus years in the realms of workflow, reporting, and automation.
My goodness. So you have a lot of experience in the work world as well.
Absolutely. So I'm always referring to that one as my left brain business, and now this new one, Inspiring Relationships, is my right brain business.
That's fabulous. So today we're going to talk about career versus relationship. Here at Communication Diva, I talk a lot about getting the job, loving your work, advancing your career. And the advancing your career part can sometimes be a very intense part of somebody's career when they're building the career. And so I wonder if we can talk a little bit about what might suffer in a relationship and how to avoid some of those pitfalls as somebody is advancing in the career world.
Yes, it is a very apt topic nowadays, because 9 to 5 is long gone. So people are now working from 8 to 7, and these long hours obviously is a drainage on their relationship. And here I see, especially when men are doing these long hours, I see a big mistake. When they come home, they stop relating to their spouses or wives. They just want to be kept alone and not talking. And I know it's in the nature of men not to talk as much as women. But if you just compare the number of hours or minutes we commute each day, so that could be easily 2 hours, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour at night, commuting to work. So we put up with 2 hours of commuting, but when it comes to 10 minutes of relating to your spouse, you're not. So that's where I see the biggest danger and biggest pitfall for relationships.
And women as well. Women are in the workforce and working long hours as well.
Absolutely. But for them to then still relate to their husband is easier because, as I said earlier, for women it's easier to talk. I have a rule of three. I see three pillars within a relationship being essential, and that is quality time, talking, and intimacy, or sex, for a better word. And this talking is absolutely crucial. Instead of putting on your television, just take 10 minutes and relate to your spouse and talk about what happened through the day, and thereby you can also calm down with your own adrenaline.
Right, because sometimes the commute is long, sometimes it's frustrating with traffic. I know around here the traffic is crazy. Sometimes it's just a stressful day that you've had with each other. So one of the ways to keep your relationship strong is to make time to actually talk with each other without a TV or a device on when you get home.
Absolutely. Just remember the time when you were dating. When you were dating, you weren't sitting in front of the television. You were on the phone talking to your new love, and then you made sure to go out on a Friday or Saturday. And now when you live together or being even married, it all feels so granted. So you stop making the effort, and that's where I see the biggest challenge. And especially then with tough work, with a career you want to advance, when your spouse is not on the same page, how can you build a relationship if you're not relating to each other?
Right. So the talking piece is very important. What are some other pitfalls in relationships when you're trying to advance your career? What do you see?
Trust is, I think, a big one, because you are separated for so many hours, and oftentimes there are conferences and you need to travel to work. And if there is no trust or little trust between the partners, then obviously these kind of excursions or business-related travels are, could easily grind down the relationship, because then envy and mistrust comes into the relationship.
So what can couples do about that?
It's funny. We come back to talking. It's what's your expectation? What's your expectation when I'm traveling? Do you expect me to call every night? Do you trust me? And it is as simple as that. And obviously also, how do you live your life? If you are you a trustworthy person? Because trust can't be bought. You can only build trust over time by keeping promises, making promises and keep them. And there could be small ones. Could you bring home the milk tonight? Yes, and then make sure that you bring home the milk, because all these things add up to building trust.
So we have the not turning on the TV. We have right away. We have making sure that you set expectations if you have to be away from each other, if you're traveling, and stay connected by making those phone calls. And
yes.
What else? I mean, sometimes people are just overwhelmed that they feel that they have to work when they get home. What do you say about that?
Quite honest, it is work. After 24 years of marriage, I can tell you it is daily work. You never let your guard down. Just because you're married, it doesn't mean that you can behave like a prick. And I see this time and time again, that people, the moment they marry, they think, oh, it's all set now, it's all fine, and I don't need to make an effort anymore. But you want to be attractive. Even after 5 years of marriage, you still want to be attractive to your partner. And that's not done by putting on a tracksuit and Ugg boots the moment you come home. So make an effort to have what I call active appointments. So instead of "see you tonight, darling," you actually put something into your calendar for Friday, and then you go out on a Friday night. And the money you invest on a weekly or fortnightly basis in your relationship is so well invested, because otherwise down the track, the lawyer is to be paid for the divorce. It is as simple as that.
So you said active appointment. Can you say more about that?
Yes. So as a contrast to a passive appointment, the passive appointment is we live together, we see each other tonight. All right, see you tonight, darling. And then the next day comes and he's off to sport and she's off to yoga, and see you tonight, darling. And then days go by, week goes by, and 1 month is like the other. And you hardly have any quality time anymore. An active appointment, on the contrast, is where you put something in your calendar saying, all right, next Friday we go to the movies, or next Friday we go to a restaurant, or next Friday we just have a stroll at the beach for 2 hours. And turn off your mobile phone, no technology, and just be in the moment, be together. And this quality time then leads to more talking, and that obviously then leads to more sex or intimacy. And then we have the full circle.
Right. So your 3 pillars were talking, intimacy, and
quality time.
And quality time. Right.
Yes. And these active appointments are vital for that. As a rule of thumb, if I would put 10% of what you pay for rent or mortgage into these active appointments. So let's say someone is paying $600 rent. That's $60 for an active appointment per week. So that would buy you, if you have kids, that would buy you 2 hours of babysitter and maybe a pizza at the next pizza stop. If you do it on a fortnight, you have $120 available. That again buys you 2 hours of babysitter and then a nicer restaurant. But that keeps your relationship alive.
Right. So you're investing in your relationship.
Absolutely. And people make the big mistake. They invest in their wedding. So the wedding nowadays is totally out of proportion, costing thousands and thousands of dollars. And after that, there's a flat line. We're not investing. So maybe there's the bunch of flowers every now and then. But that's about it. Invest on a weekly or fortnightly basis in your relationship. That's the key.
And so what do you say to people who have to come home and continue working, even though they've left the office, but then there's still phone calls and emails and things that have to be followed up on, and the time to invest in each other is diminished?
So here again, it comes down to expectation and talking about it. Obviously, that's not the ideal situation, because you want to have a clear line between work and not work. But myself, I've been working from home for 30 odd years. So for me, it was always difficult to have this clear line. But as I said, it's about communication and talking to your spouse. So if there is an urgent phone call to do, so do it. But also, once that's done, be fully present with the kids or with your spouse.
Right, and it's that fully present that is seems to be difficult to achieve sometimes.
Correct, because we are so used to turn on the television the moment we come into the house. So the television runs as a silent guest on the dinner table, and it's always on the breakfast table. And sometimes people even have a television in their bedroom, which doesn't really help with intimacy, if I may say so. So instead of having all these technology gadgets and phone on constant alert, make sure that you switch off, disconnect to reconnect.
Oh, I like that. Disconnect to reconnect. What are some of the biggest... Go ahead.
So sorry to add to that. The first thing here is for yourself, because if you don't be solid in yourself, if you are not happy with yourself, then you can't radiate happiness. you can't give anything to someone which you don't have yourself. So if you don't love yourself, you can't give love. Meaning, if you're not disconnecting from technology for your own sake, to connect with your own root cause, with your own higher spirit, for better lack of better words, then you can't connect with your partner. So it's very selfish first that you say, hang on, I'm turning the telephone off now. I'm off the grid now. Stop it for the next 10 hours. It's just a healthy relationship with yourself, and then you can have a healthy relationship with your spouse.
And you said you were away on a retreat. Is that what that was, looking after yourself so that you could be more present?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I do meditation. I do massages for myself. So every fortnight I have a massage for myself, because I'm working as everybody else. I'm working more or less 10 hours a day on the computer. So that is really bad for your shoulder and for your whole posture. So I reward myself and indulge myself with a massage. So you need to look after yourself first. It's like in the airplane. They always say, put the mask for yourself on first before you help anybody else. And that's so true in life. If you're not living a happy life yourself, how can you radiate happiness?
What about people who there's just not enough time in the day to put, or energy to put toward both your career aspirations and your relationship? What do you say to those people?
Well, you need to put your priorities right, and I mean this quite honest. So sometimes in life, maybe relationship comes second and career comes first. But that's a choice, and if it's a conscious choice, you can live with that. It would be wrong to say, darling, I do everything you want, and then you be off working 24/7. So again, it comes to expectations within the relationship. It comes to communication within the relationship. But first of all, you have to have the communication with yourself. What do I really want? What's more important to me, the career or the relationship?
So you can have both, but it's a matter of balance.
Absolutely. That's the perfect word. You can have both, but it is a matter of balance. And this phrase which everybody's using, this work-life balance, sounds like that work is not life, but that's wrong. Work is such an integral part of our life. I think it should be more like non-work balance. But work-life balance obviously sounds better. I totally get it. But the subconscious meaning of this is, oh, I'm going to work. I'm not living now. I'm working. So it's you know what I mean?
I did a podcast interview, and I can't remember off the top of my head which episode number it was, but it wasn't that long ago, and it was with an author who had written a book called Work-Life Balance is Dead.
Yes.
And her whole premise was that your whole entire life is your whole entire life, whether you're working or you're at home. And so the idea of putting just the work into one pot and just your life into another pot was a falsehood, and that was impossible to manage. And so she was talking about how to integrate instead. And
yes.
And I thought that was an interesting concept.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that the people that you work with face when they're dealing with relationships and their work?
The biggest challenges are usually that they move together, they're happy, and then this boredom sets in. This routine sets in, which I've recounted earlier. So one week looks like the other, 1 month is like the other, and then the years go by. And after 3 or 4 years, there might be one or two kids, and you find yourself in a treadmill where you think, shall this go on for the next 30 years in my life? And then you review everything. It's this boredom stage within a relationship. I've created a love cycle which starts with search and goes over new love to dating, and then move together, and then happiness, and then the routine sets in, and then boredom, and the next thing is that you stop talking, which is an absolute critical point in your relationship, because, as I said, you take everything for granted. See you tonight, darling. And did you know that the average couple talks 7 minutes with each other per day?
7?
And that includes what's for dinner, and could you hand me the butter, please? Because work takes over, and I can easily see that, because you're rushing out of the door in the morning, and one you have a private life like sport and friends outside of work, so there isn't hardly any time, and that's why I say these active appointments, which I've referred to earlier, are so important. So to make time. On this love cycle, after stop talking, then it goes into fighting, and then eventually it goes into counseling. But the clients I'm working with, they are in this phase of boredom and stop talking, and I help them to review what they really want in life, and make a commitment to their relationship, and change habits in regards to usage of technology and communication, and thereby get them back into the happy mode.
Do you think that having the cell phone at the end of your hand, as many of us do these days, has significantly made a big difference in relationships?
Absolutely. Don't get me started. I could rant for hours on the misuse and use of cell phones, and it's not just with your partner; it's also with your kids. I see moms and dads in the morning having a quick breakfast at a coffee shop, and instead of then talking to their kids while they're on the way to school, they're already on their cell phones, putting something into Facebook or watching the latest cat videos. And it's quality time they could use to relate to their children, but instead they're watching in this 2x3 kind of gadget all the time. And totally forget how important time together for kids is. Because you know how kids spell love?
How?
Time. Time.
Yeah.
And we deprive our children from time because we are on this phone 24/7. How often have you been in a restaurant seeing a couple on the table next to you talking to everybody in the world via their cell phones, but not to the person which is just across the table?
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely silly. And don't tell me that you need to have the phone on 24/7 because there could be an important phone call. When you're in the movies, you put your phone off and nothing happens. The world doesn't stop there. So, well, as I said, that's my rant for the moment.
Well, and I remember we were away at a little resort that isn't very far away from where we live for a couple of nights just in the winter. And I remember sitting in the hot pools. They have these natural spring pools. And I remember sitting out in the hot pool and had a book with me, and my partner had his book with him, and we were going to be there for an extended period of time, just relaxing and reading books and that, and talking with each other and all the rest of it. But then I look over and there's a couple who each of them has a cell phone in the pool, and
yes,
and I thought, yeah. Really? Now, if I think about that, what's the difference between that and me reading my book? except that me reading my book is not me engaging with a bunch of other people. It's just, passing some time with the book. But I don't know, there was just something odd and bizarre and sad about seeing this young couple in the pool, and each of them was on their cell phones.
Yep. Yeah, maybe it's sign of the times, but it's definitely not in favor for relationships. Some of the audience might digress and say, "No, hang on, I've met my partner on Tinder. So without Tinder and our cell phones, that wouldn't have been possible." But I still venture to say, in the overall scheme of things, a mobile phone doesn't help the relationship.
Right. And I mean, I love my phone. I have my phone with me all the time, and I'd rather lose my wallet than my phone. but I do understand the idea of setting boundaries and turning it off when there's something, when you're supposed to be present. Yeah.
And I have my phone with me all the time as well, and I love my phone. My phone is always off. So I would maybe see or feel when a call is coming in, and I'm missing every other call. But then people leaving a voicemail, and I can call them back. And then it's in my discretion. It is my decision when to take the call. And a lot of people, I think, can't stand a ringing phone. So they think they are missing out on something. So this is FOMO, the fear of missing out. But you make yourself to the slave of a machine. And I'm not a slave of anybody. So it's my life. And I determine when I take calls and when I'm not taking calls.
So it is possible then to have to work on your career and to work on a relationship at the same time. What if you have a demanding boss?
Yes, as you said earlier, it could be that you are coming home and still have to work at home, or you have a boss which really, really is demanding, and you are just you're 28 and you are just starting, so you really want to please your boss and step up in your career. Again, as I said earlier, you need to make a conscious decision. What do you want at this stage of your life? Do you really want to work 24/7 and please your demanding boss? Or do you draw a line in the sand and say, hang on, at 11 o'clock at night, there's a deadline? It is a tough call, but again, it comes back to communication. So if you have an appointment with your partner and your boss is demanding, which then leads you to cancel that appointment, if it's a one-time thing, then obviously your partner would play along. But if this would happen 7, 8, 10 times in a row, then your partner would rightly ask you, so who is more important here right now? And how do we ever find time for ourselves? It is a tough call, and there is no one-size-fits-all answer to that. It is possible to have both a successful career and a great relationship, but it demands that you have clear communication with your boss and clear communication with your partner and clear communication with yourself, what you want and what you are able and what you are willing to do.
So if you have a piece of advice for the listener now, sort of your best piece of advice, what would it be?
My best piece of advice is have 3 bank accounts. One each and one for the common expenses. Because money, which obviously is a result of a successful career, is oftentimes at the center point of disagreement within a relationship. So each has their own bank account, and the money they earn goes into their separate bank accounts, and from there they fill the common bank account, which pays mortgage, groceries, repairs, travel, etc., according to their means. Meaning, if someone is earning double from the other, then that person also puts double into this common bank account.
Well, that sounds like a whole other topic of discussion.
Absolutely, Jen. And I venture to say that money is actually more important than sex in a relationship, because these money topics, they are a constant fight and a constant discussion with couples.
Yes, we have a whole section on money in the marriage prep, Marriage Works course that I've got online, because it is such a hot topic. Absolutely. So,
but maybe to then abbreviate, the best tip is keep talking. As we touched on this a couple of times today, but I've also polled a couple of couples which have been married for 15 years and longer, and the common denominator is that they are in constant communication and constant talking.
that's great. So that is the secret sauce.
It is. It is as simple and as difficult as that, because I know, especially we men, don't like to talk after a full day of work. We just want to watch television.
Right. So talking is key. So Jurgen, if people want to know more about what you do and where you do it, where can they find you at?
There's a website, www.inspiring-relationships.com. I repeat, www.inspiring-relationships.com. And there you can find information about me, about programs I'm running. I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching. I have an online course which runs for 8 weeks, where you get the essential tips and tricks about relationships. And yes, you also find me on Facebook, but a good start is my website.
Fabulous. And all the links and everything would be there.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. I think there's a lot to think about, and I wish you well in all the things that you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jen. It's also an opportunity to speak to you and your listeners.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation that I had earlier today with Jurgen. And Jurgen and I connected through the powers of technology. I have not actually met him in person, but there are lots of things that we've got going on in common. We both have training in NLP, and we both enjoy helping people to deepen their relationships. And he was talking a lot about talking. So I found that to be great synergy there. So I hope you enjoyed that. Again, come over and check out our contest that's only on until the 9th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. That is communicationdiva.com/giveaway. Enter your chance to win How to Ace a Job Interview course, which has done really well in the past. This course, people have really enjoyed it and have been emailing me to let me know that they've gotten a job, and they're very excited about that after having taken this course. So check that all out. And until next time, keep talking to one another, keep helping to make your relationships stronger and deeper and better, because all of that will help make this world a kinder, more gentle place to be. And honest to goodness, after what's been going on this past month, this past many weeks, between earthquakes and hurricanes and mass shootings and horrible things happening around the world with war and refugees and just devastation going on everywhere, we could all use some more kindness, some more gentleness, some more love in this world. So help me to share that. And until next time, this is Jen Swanson. Take good care of you.